States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to start the meeting with an update from Mr. Baker before we move on to the other items.
Thank you for squeezing me in there. I have a team practicing in the gym, so I want to get back over there. Take one pass over. I will get to that in a minute, but I want to go over some things first. Wanted a little recap on the fall sports, some success that we had. Our girls soccer won the NE8 again, and they were sectional champions. I'm going to say that's like 10 years in a row for them. They're on a crazy run. They're doing extremely well. Girls volleyball, NE8 champs, and they were 4A sectional champs this year. They had to move up because of the success factor, and so they moved up 4A. Sectional was here, and they were able to pull a big win off against Homestead, and they won sectional. Not beating regional then, but huge accomplishment for them. In winter sports are already wrapping up, crazy as it is. Our girls basketball team took second place in the NE8 behind Norwalk, and they were sectional champions, first time since 2020 or 2022. And the regional is here Saturday. They play East Noble at 1 o'clock. We also host the 4A regional, which is Norwell and Snyder at 4 o'clock. So Snyder is there practicing right now. Everybody gets an opportunity to come in and practice. So East Noble and Norwell practice on Thursday. Our wrestlers, NE8 champs. They were sectional and regional champs. They've done a fantastic job. Semi-state this coming weekend. Have a great opportunity to win semi-state, actually. We're poised right now to do really well. So wish all the luck to them as well.
Did I see that we're sending more wrestlers to semi-state than we ever have in the
Yes.
history of the program?
Yes. I forget that I don't know the exact number. 8 maybe?
12.
Well, is there 12 that's going to semi-state? Yes, that's right. So that's fantastic. They've done a tremendous job, and you know that program is just a story program that year in and year out. They do a fantastic job with them, and boys are very dedicated, so that's awesome. Our boys swim and dive, second place in the NE8. This is 2 years in a row for them, getting second place in the NE8, and their sectional starts next week. So hopefully they do well. We have an opportunity for several of them to move on, both dive and our swim. So everything's coming up crazy. It's hard to believe. Track season starts Monday, believe it or not. So they'll start their track season, and they'll have some indoor meets first, and then they'll go into their outdoor stuff. So spring stuff is here, right around the corner. A couple other things I wanted to talk about. We are going to have a dedication to Dale tomorrow night at the boys basketball game at halftime. Doc Ainsworth purchased the old floor that got ruined during the flood. He purchased the B from that. It was kind of a fundraiser that they did. You could buy sections of it. He purchased it. He wants to donate it back to Belmont, and we're going to hang it in the gym lobby as a dedication or a tribute to Dale. So if you're available tomorrow night at halftime of the varsity game, we'll do that dedication to him. I know his family's coming in. I believe his parents are going to be here as well. So excited about that opportunity to do that, and want to hang it prominently because he was particular about his gym. So yeah, that's what's on the agenda for tomorrow night. The Luxido and the new sound system. Well, if you haven't seen it or heard it, it is incredible, absolutely incredible. As a matter of fact, I've had schools, high schools and colleges both reach out and be like, where did you do this? Where did you get this from? Talk to me about the logistics of it. So I do foresee people hopping on board and doing it, but it's just a great opportunity for our athletes to have that. I do think, just a little teaser, we're gonna use it in the Hunger Games as well coming up, so that'll be an opportunity for everybody to see it and witness it while they're there. So it's hard to believe the dynamic that the projector brings, but then the sound system that was put in and updated, it just makes it incredible. So if you have an opportunity, come in and see that. We do it for run-outs for our boys and girls, but now boys, and then we also do it for the lineup. So there's 2 opportunities to see two different shows in one evening.
It was way more impressive than I was even expecting. Like, it's super cool.
Very cool. Very, very cool.
I want to go ahead and just remind us, we have some really generous community sponsors who really enable us.
So we had five community sponsors or donations that were very, very instrumental in us being able to do this. Kreuzberg Auction, Custom Car Care, Blakey Electric, U-Store with Bobon. Mark, thank you. And then Innovative Concepts also went in and donated quite a bit when they did the install. So those 5 companies in particular were very instrumental in helping us out and being more than gracious to give us some money to donate towards that. And we do have on the projection, we have their logos present so that everybody sees that they were instrumental in that. So it was fantastic. The other thing is the IHSAA is coming out with the reclassification of classes this week. I don't have them yet. They confirmed our numbers. It was from the fall ADM. And so I'm assuming we'll stay in that 3A. But it depends on what other schools, what fluctuation they have. But we're probably 75 kids above where that 2A cutoff will be. So I think we'll stay in class 3A for 2 more years. Every 2 years they reevaluate it. So I will make sure that Mrs. Hyatt knows if anything changes, but I'm pretty sure we'll stay 3A. It's not quite yet, no. It goes anywhere from like 540, 545 up to 1,200, I think, for 3A. So, and it goes on percentages of schools in each of those populations. So that's how they kind of determine that. They take ADM as the biggest factor, but they also do take some other factors into consideration. But I think it was 607 was the number that they got from our ADM, and that's what they're basing us on. So I'm not writing there. The only other thing that I have on my piece of paper that I want to talk to you guys about is the schedule that I put in front of you, just so that you are kind of aware how incredibly full our gym is on a daily basis. And that's not even the most recent. I've added quite a bit to February and March already. So if there's ever $10 million laying around and you guys want to build a field house, you have my permission to do that. But I wanted to kind of show you how full the space is. We always put our high school athletes in there first, in season and then out of season. And then anywhere that we can fill in feeders that come into Belmont High School, we want to put them in. We want them in our gym. We want them in our batting cages. We want them on our fields. We want them everywhere that we can put them. But it becomes a juggling act as to how we can do that in spaces, and they've got they look on their event link and they see if there's an availability, and then they will send me either a text message or they'll request it on the event link, but we try and squeeze them in there. So and these are just practices that I put on the schedule. There's not even events that are on there, so throw that in there as well. It just becomes very, very full. And so any time that we can't use either our high school gym or our auxiliary gym at the high school, we'll call Mr. Myers up and see if we can use the middle school. As a matter of fact, Peyton had some ACT basketball in March that he had scheduled to take place at the high school, but once Craig got me the boys volleyball practice times and schedules, then I had to bump Peyton out of there with his ACT, and I think he's now going to take that over to the middle school so that we can continue to do that. So look through that. If you ever have any questions or whatever about that process, don't hesitate to reach out by phone or email, and I would be happy to talk to you about it. We get them all fit in there. It's just sometimes beggars can't be choosers, and they have to take that 8 o'clock time slot if it's available or if they can do it. Now, when the second and third graders are practicing, they prefer not to go that late, but sometimes we have to do that. So it works, and we're lucky to have that auxiliary gym that we've had for a long time now. But it is a balancing act, and I do want to try and continue to keep our youth coming in and be a part of our facilities and welcome them in and see what we have to offer them. But I felt like it was important for you guys to see how busy that is. A lot, constantly, and it will die down in the spring when sports start to go outside. But while it's not nice outside, baseball, softball, and tennis will all have to juggle that auxiliary gym, upper deck, batting cage at the same time as well. So, and then in the fall, then we'll still have basketball constantly going with volleyball coming in. And there's just a lot of moving pieces, but I wanted you guys to have that in front of you. Questions that you guys have?
I was hoping you might be able to talk about two things, and I'll just give them to you one at a time. Could you just give them a kind of a recap of how Coach Blaker's community meeting went?
Yeah, that was, we had to move it a couple different times because of the weather, but we finally had it, and when I quit counting and people were still coming in, we were about 70, 75 people that were present that night in the theater. He also did a Facebook Live, and there were another 30 to 40 people that were on Facebook Live watching him. And I tell you, every time I hear the guy talk about football, I'm ready to go put on the pads and go play football. He's just so energetic and so passionate about it, and he's like a kid magnet. They just flock to him, and he's got personality, he's got character. He can get around with them, but he can also, get them going in the weight room. And he's been doing that now since he's been here. They go once in the morning and then once in the afternoon, a couple times a week, 3 times a week, and numbers are growing, numbers are getting higher. He's got a lot of middle school kids in there. I think he told me he had 30 middle school kids in one day after school. And he's just talking to them about, you know what, you guys want to continue to be successful, these are the things that we need to do, this is how we need to push it, this is get stronger, get faster, and so far they're willing to do that. He's had several high school kids that have either played and quit it or didn't play at all in high school, talking to him now or coming to the weight room and lifting with them. So he's got strategies to get kids out there. He's got ways to motivate them. He's still working on a coaching staff, but he's done a pretty nice job of that, getting some new people in there, as well as some returning coaches. And so he's full steam ahead right now, and he's just very, very, very passionate about it. It's like he's been here for 10 years now. He's in the building, and it was smooth, it was seamless. So he's done a fantastic job. I couldn't be more happy. And I told Mrs. Hyatt and everybody that I could talk to about when we did this whole football coach recruiting, we needed to find somebody that could sell ice to an Eskimo. And I think he could sell ice to an Eskimo. He's very good. So I couldn't be more happy with him at this point in time. It's a process. We're still going to lose some games, but it's getting better from week 1 to week 2 to week 3 to week 4, and continue to energize the kids and show them the process So, if he's going to come out and win the conference, I'm not going to come out and go 7-0 or 8-0, but, I think we'll see improvement throughout the season as we go. So I think that's the most important thing, and that's what I want the community to see as well. It's not all about wins and losses. Yeah, the wins are great, but continuing to get them better each and every day, each and every week. And I think we will see that. So I'm looking forward to this coming fall and see what he has to offer. And as he said, when we break that losing streak, you want to be there because it's going to be pretty darn exciting. He didn't say it, he said when. So.
Then I also hoped you could kind of give just a update on, this is our first year in doing the sports performance class
Yep.
with Mr. Hine, and I know have been meeting with many of the head coaches and staff to
Yeah.
kind of talk about that programming and moving into summer and what that might look like.
I think sports performance is really starting to take off. I think kids they enjoy the opportunity to be able to do it either before school, so they start at 7:30, and then they go up through the first period. So they have 45 minutes in there to lift and do what they need to do rather than just a regular class period where it's a lot less time by the time you change and get in there and do all those things. So they have some extra time at the beginning of the day as well at the end of the day. It goes last period through homeroom, so they have that extra time in there. And the things that he's doing with them are fantastic. He's working them, and they are in the weight room, and they're working pretty hard at it. And with Coach Blaker coming in, he's already chimed in and willing to put forth some of his weight program that he individualizes for everybody. With all of our athletes, he's like, I'll do it for everybody if they want me to. He said it's just that important for our kids to get stronger. From football all the way through anything you can imagine, all of our sports need to get stronger. And so that I foresee growing. I see more athletes getting into that class. I really do. I don't think that's just wishful thinking. I think it's going to happen. I think we'll get a lot more athletes in there. When it comes to the summer program, the boys are going to continue what they've done, so they will lift Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. I don't remember the exact date, but they will lift as all boys, all male sports. So they'll come in and they'll do their lifting, they'll do their speed and agility, they'll do all of those kinds of things. And then if they have sports-specific practices later, they can still get to those as well. Andy is going to do the same thing for girls, to get girls sports in there lifting as well. Again, trying to make sure that we juggle all those balls and get them in when they need to get in. Are they in there at the same time the guys are in there and they're doing their agility, or they flip-flop, or for example, on different days, how does that look? But those are discussions that we're constantly having. Drew Fetterspiel, who is employed through Adams Memorial, comes in and he does sports performance with them as well. And again, that's a lot of the agility stuff, and he talks to them the scientific portions of lifting and why you get the reps that you need to do and the rest that you need to get. And then nutrition is also a big part of it, to make sure that they're eating the right things and their body's working for them and not against them. So all of those pieces are starting to come together. We had a weight room that was nice, and we had some people that kind of sort of used it, and now I think we're going in that direction where we're getting more people to use it on a consistent basis and getting a plan put together to help all of our athletes become stronger and better athletes in the future. So we're going to keep tweaking that, keep working on that. But I do feel like we're going in a good direction right now. I feel like we've got some good things going. And really some staff that are dedicated to want to go in there and help all of our athletes. So we couldn't do without them giving up their time and getting in there and helping the kids out. So that's been fantastic that we have coaches and staff members that are willing and want to do that. So we're going to continue to work on it, but right now I feel like it's going in a pretty good direction. I'm happy with it, but there's always things to make it a little bit better, and we're going to continue to tweak that as we go. But for right now, I think, again, it's in a pretty good direction. So,
Do you have any updates on girls wrestling?
once we get through boys season, then we'll post the position, and then we'll get the coach in here, and we'll start to recruit and get girls out. I know there's several middle school girls that are interested in it, and I've heard a couple of the high school girls are interested as well. So as soon as we get through the boys season, then we'll get that posted and get rolling on that.
You have had some call-out meetings, I know, right?
Yes, yeah, in both high school and middle school, there are some college meetings, and yeah, there's interesting, but less interest at the high school right now and more in the middle school, but I think that will grow as they start to go from middle school to high school and see how it can help the girls. I think that will start to grow as well, so. Yeah. Boys volleyball, I guess, I'll throw that in there. This will be year 2 now of having it, and I presented to you, we do a 3-year trial period to see how things are going. I looked at those numbers today too. I think there were 18 boys that played volleyball last year. Of those 18, 10 of them had another sport that they played. 8 of them just played volleyball. There were a few conflicts with the schedule. We had to cancel some games early, but we were also able to move some games around. And then the coaches got together and worked it out so that the boys can do both of them the best that they could. We'll still have them choose a primary sport, and that'll be the sport that they go to first, and then when they can either get dismissed from that sport, or if there's not something going on and they can go right to their secondary sport, then we'll do that. The majority of them last year picked the other sport than volleyball as their primary sport, but I think there were 1 or 2 that picked volleyball as their primary sport last year. So we'll see. I know Craig had a call-out meeting. 15, 18, 20 kids, I think, was about the number that he had. Now we'll see once they get into actual tryouts, see how many of those boys show up, and we'll go ahead and keep the statistics again and let you guys know where that lays. But yeah, it went well last year.
Can you tell yet how many were carried over from last year and previous?
That I don't know off the top of my head. I want to say we probably had 5 or 6 seniors last year. So of those other underclassmen, I would assume they would also come back, but I don't know yet. I didn't get the names for that yet.
Do we know how many of the 8 did like any other sport all season, like all year, or was it just volleyball?
Mostly just, they did play spring sport. Yep. Anything else?
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Anytime you have any questions or want to come in and sit down and chat, we can certainly talk and chat after. I'll do that any day.
Thank you. All right, so any public comment on agenda items? None, we will move on to consensus items.
There was one policy, 5452, that I originally had on as a technical correction. When I got into it, there was more we needed to change than the technical correction, so that got moved to new business. Other than that, nothing that I would usually announce.
Okay, so just that one change, we'll move that down to new business.
Oh, I'm sorry, and there was an additional resignation added that is highlighted on your new board
Okay.
update.
Any other questions or comments or motion to approve? Motion by Joel, is there a second? Seconded by Darlene. Motion by Joel, seconded by Darlene to approve the consensus items as presented with the change noted with the policy. All those in favor announce by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Approved 6-0. We've done our program update and no new old business. We'll move on to new business with the first item being the approval of summer school.
So this is the first step in us being able to even apply to the state for what we would offer for summer school. So this is just basically asking you to make a motion to approve Nicole to be able to apply to the state for us to be able to get the summer school grant. Just wanted to remind you that this is the second year that they will give first priority to second and third graders getting intervention, intermediation for Irene. And and then also usually, that would be what they said their first funding priority is. And then our hope would be to be able to offer it K-3, and then for high school, Nicole and Renee are looking to work with the Boys and Girls Club, who received I forget what the grant was called, but it was for community partners, but basically they're offering summer school as well, and they have a curriculum that they follow, which was wonderful. The primary conflict was we were trying to hire the same teachers. And so they graciously moved their summer school last year to be July, and we stayed in June, and our teachers did both. I think they felt a little bit worn out by the end of that summer. And so we are trying to work with them right now to see if they would support us in offering for primary grades, especially to hit that IRE intervention. And then they simultaneously would take our older kids, and we might have to help with transportation or something for the primary age kids who would go to Boys and Girls Club, but we'll figure that out. Again, all that stuff is still in the works. We just have to get the summer school grant, ask for it to see what even they end up being willing to support this year.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve summer school, or questions or comments? Motion by Dave, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Wiley. Motion by Dave, second by Wiley to approve summer school for this year. All those in favor announce by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Approved 6-0. Next is permission to void outstanding checks from January 1st, 23 through December 31st, 23.
So the next two items are just annual things that we do. So basically, after we've had checks out for 2 years, there comes a point where you just don't want them outstanding on your books. And so this is just, we have to have your permission to get those voided out. The first one is for vendor checks or checks from our district, and the second item is specifically for ECA checks, so for clubs, organizations, athletic teams that didn't get cashed. So that's about it. It's just
Okay. One of those things.
one of those things.
Is there a motion to approve, or questions or comments?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Wiley, is there a second? Second by Jill. Motion by Wiley, seconded by Jill to approve, excuse me, voiding outstanding checks from July 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023. All those in favor announce by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Approved 6-0. For the second,
You said July.
did I say the wrong thing?
You said July.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
You said
That was me.
January.
Okay, let's do it again. Sorry, guys. Wiley and Jill, right? Thank you, okay. Motion by Wiley, seconded by Jill to give permission to void outstanding checks from January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023. All those in favor announce by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Approved 6-0. Thank you for catching that. Next is for the ECA checks. Is there questions, comments, or a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the ECA check.
Motion by Wiley, is there a second? Seconded by Darlene. Motion by Wiley, seconded by Darlene to provide permission to void outstanding ECA checks from January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023. All those in favor announce by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Approved 6-0. Next are policy updates, first reading.
Okay, and this one isn't hefty as the last one, thank goodness, and not nearly as much green text. So the first three are bylaw updates, and this was from the last legislative session. Of course, after we had already fairly approved them previously, they came with a new stack of updates. So the first one, bylaw 0142, is about election eligibility, and that is to reflect the new legislation that decreased someone who is eligible to run for office as a member of a school board from 21 years old to 18 years old. I can't imagine, but I know there's been someplace that have been that young. And then the other piece is a lot about when you actually want to run for school board. A big piece of this legislation was the identification of a political affiliation, which you can either identify your political affiliation or run as an independent. or not disclose either, are going to be the three options. I will tell you, will this be coming across these desks again next year? Yes, because they are now going to pass some legislation about the order that the names are listed on the ballot. And it will be by political affiliation first, I think is what they've told us, and then alpha order and independents or non-affiliated would be last, is my understanding.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting caught up. Then the second one is compensation. The big change there is we can keep doing what we've been doing, but they did in the last legislative session allow board members to be compensated up to 10% of the lowest starting teacher salary in that school corporation. And then they have a few other things about what board members can be, some additions can be reimbursed for, printed materials, like if you go to a conference or you want a book on school leadership or something like that. And then we don't ever run into this here. I'm sure there's evidently been board members in different places that have attended different things as lay people, but asked for reimbursement or coverage of lodging or expenses as a board member, and so they've made distinctions on that. That's never really happened. I know it's never happened here in my tenure. And then board approved conferences should be at the location closest to the corporation. I didn't know if there might be a little bit of a exemption thing in there, because I know, for example, with our new board member training, there's only one day they offered it closest to here, and if you weren't available that day, for example, then I would rather you, I was appreciative of the attempt to go somewhere else, so we might want to say, approval of the board president, or do you have any thoughts?
I think you do need to allow for that.
I don't think it's a problem. Like, you know, it's sure, go the closest one, you can't go that day, then you gotta go to the closest one the next time.
Right, yeah, I mean, I think it says should be, so it doesn't say has to be.
I would say no.
Yeah.
The absence of anything that precludes them. So if you think that covers it, that's great. The next one is executive session, and the legislators did add a few other reasons that we can have executive sessions for, to hear information about potential health care options, changes in an employee handbook, and several things about hearing information, like if we're going through a building situation or anything that you're soliciting bids for, so that the board can hear more information from potential vendors. That's really the only two things there. So those are the bylaw changes. 2464 is high ability students, and this basically is just a lot of jargon that updates to coincide with legislation and DOE rules that apply to high ability programming. Not a whole lot there. 3220 is staff evaluation. Last year in the legislative session, they did basically make staff evaluation much more lax than it had been. For example, they took away, they had determined that you had to have 4 rating levels for certified employees: highly effective, effective, needs improvement, ineffective. They took away that you have to use those labels. They took out language about a staff member and definitions for negatively impacting student achievement. So a lot of this is just to add some language that allows schools to address a lot more topics about staff evaluation, allows you to take some things out. I can tell you informally, I am in the information gathering segment just to review our current evaluation process and documents, and when I kind of get my research done, then we'll be involving administrators and staff to kind of look at revising hours. I don't see a complete upending of everything, but at least there's some areas we know we would like to make changes now that that's more allowed. I think the things in yellow, I did not recommend that we have to go over the annual performance evaluation plan every year at a board meeting. It is something we have to submit to the state, but unless there's a change, would be my recommendation. If you wanted to hear about it, I would say if there's a change, we would update you. Otherwise, pretty not fun. I will say, let's see. One thing that a lot of us had not been doing because they had changed the legislative verbiage, but every year it looks like we are going to have to report to you the aggregate of the results of the staff performance. So basically, how many highly effective did we have, how many effective, and by building, not by name, just numbers. And I did change that from what I initially sent you to where I can report that to you, and it doesn't have to be the building principal coming in and reporting it to you. They can if they want, but I figured I would say I would take that. I can do that for them. And we always have to provide our performance evaluation results to the IDE every year. That's nothing new. They just put it in there, but it has to be by a certain date. The next one is 4162. This is just to be in compliance with state law about basically CDL holders and drug and alcohol testing. On page 21, there's a couple things that you need to give me feedback. The first one is typically whenever we have had any type of accident, a fender bender, whatever, we've asked for the person to go to Portland and have a drug and alcohol test. Legislation now says you don't have to do that every time. You can choose to only do it if there was a result of injury or death, if there was a citation waged to the driver, if there was emergency medical attention needed for the driver or anyone involved in the accident, and when I think that's supposed to be when there's visible damage, not necessarily visible damage that would require a tow truck. So basically, we can either keep saying post-accident, you go, you get tested, no matter what, or we can make it contingent upon basically what I think this just provides trigger language to the quote-unquote seriousness of the incident, as opposed to, I don't know, if someone clips their mirror on a stop sign or something, I guess. But that would be something you need to talk about. The other option from the policy was prior to employment, if you wish for our CDL drivers to have an alcohol test done for employment. Obviously, we don't want anyone to be under the influence of alcohol. I don't know how much sense that makes for the added expense when it's planned. Because we do have just cause, obviously, and reasonable suspicion if we think someone could be operating under the influence. So those are two options you need to have, think about. 5350 is just some changes with suicide awareness and prevention. Pretty mild, basically it determines who we may want to have an MOU with as far as mental health providers, and I recommended selecting both options, and then where folks could go to find suicide prevention services, which we do have on our website, and the kids have all these, that was other legislation on their student IDs, they have all these text codes for one of them, suicide intervention. There's lots of different ones. And then I really would like someone to talk to a live person, like a guidance counselor, if there really wasn't worried about that, because it's just an opportunity to get a lot more follow-up and probably more meaningful direction. Retaking a class, I did go over this with the principal and the high school guidance staff. A lot of this change was necessary because of the change in diploma types coming along with the high school redesign. And so I think that policy starts on page 30. So I did have some additions after talking to them a little bit more. So see, the things in blue are the things I've added since talking with them. We needed to recognize the academic honors diploma is still an option for the next 3 years, but that it changes to enrollment honors and enrollment honors plus seals. We don't really have an end-of-course exam anymore, so that's struck out. Kids don't have to pass a test in order to graduate. The SAT is given, and it's an opportunity to count depending upon their score for one of the 3 boxes they have to check to meet graduation requirements, but it's not a requirement for everyone. And then guidance recommendation were the optional things, A to G, at the bottom of that policy that they did not recommend selecting any of those and just kind of keep it more broad. The last 2 policies are basically something you've already voted on. You voted on policy 1113 a month ago, I think, about conflict of interest, and that one dealt with administrators and you as school board members. 3113 and 4113 deal with teachers and like coaches and things like that. So it's the same verbiage applied to those different stakeholder groups. This is just a first reading, so any questions, concerns, please reach out to me, comments, and I'll be working to revise whatever input and feedback I get based on that for the next meeting.
Okay. Next, we have the Adams Public Library appointment.
So Robert Everett has graciously served as our appointee to the library board for several years, and she had other things that she needed to do, and we are happy to recommend Bonnie Simmons to serve on the Adams County Library Board as our representative.
Okay. Any questions, comments, or motions to approve Bonnie Simmons for the Adams Public Library?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Wiley, seconded by Darlene. Motion by Wiley, seconded by Darlene to approve Bonnie Simmons for Adams Public Library appointment. All those in favor announce by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Approved 6-0.
Hey,
Next
Ken,
is-
is that 1 year or 4 years? How long is that time period? I went 4, okay. Got it.
I've been in the library record building. It was 9 years.
Next, we have the superintendent's report.
Well, believe it or not, we are actively planning for 26-27 already. I guess before I get to some of those things, yesterday was Legends Day, February 9th, so hope our, what are they now? Sixth graders enjoyed their day of infamy. Hopefully they were cheering for the Seahawks. Don't know. But the teachers were busy. Yesterday, I just want to give you a few things that they participated in. We had former Teacher of the Year come in and present to our middle school and high school about artificial intelligence and options to make that useful for teachers to save time, higher engagement, how to look at it from a student standpoint of things that are meaningful for them, but at the same time still make sure the learning is happening, and that was really well received. We had a couple hours of meetings between the middle school and high school departments to talk about vertical alignment and transitioning from middle school to high school and what skills we are seeing maybe gaps in or skills that we're seeing good progress in, what any changing standards might be showing us, our different tests. For example, one of the things that's coming up new that you'll be hearing about from the middle school is number 1, science of literacy is expected to go up through middle school, so we will be seeing some requirements for their teachers for training as well as intervention. Math is being mandated to be an intervention time and MTSS in middle school. Nicole, I'll probably have to defer to you, but at least if a student shows certain deficits, they have to have X number of minutes a week or even a day of extra intervention, and so we are having to redo some of the middle school schedule. Christy's been working a lot on that to get explicit intervention time for kids who have some deficits in reading and math, and I think she has a good plan for that, and that's, again, those conversations are going up through the high school as well on alignment and are there opportunities to support the middle school even. Brett Bratz at the middle school, our middle school ED teacher, rolled out Y-Try training to the gen ed staff. Our special ed staff had been trained on Y-Try, and that is a behavioral support, but also resiliency training program that basically teaches kids that why should you care, why try, why should you care, and trying to build that, I guess, sense of resiliency and that growth mindset in kids. And so we've been doing it for the past year with many of our special ed populations, and it has just a lot of good information for everyone, special ed or not. And so he rolled that out to all middle school staff on just, again, behavior strategies, frameworks, classroom design, expectations, and how to communicate those. Our literacy cadre coach came and met with the elementary staff, and they had a great training, did a lot of what they call total participation techniques, which is getting everyone involved instead of asking one question of one student, how you get all the kids or a lot of the kids to have to respond to you so that you can get more input as far as what everyone is getting and not getting. Again, just make things flow better and not have to rely on always pencil and paper or something that you have to grade. But again, just from an instructional standpoint, how can you get more and better feedback from kids and more often? We got a behavior grant from the DOE last year, and so that is partially what we are using to pay for this PESI training, and these are, PESI is I don't even remember what it stands for. Do you remember? Okay. We just call it PESI. But it is an online training. You might know it through they have some healthcare online training for mental health providers, social workers, folks like that, where they have national experts that are usually they're pre-recorded, like curricular that you can get certifications in, and so we had some monies to basically expand the capacity of our special needs, and then probably going to roll it out after those folks kind of pick what they'd like to do to gen ed, counselors. We're trying to grow capacity and get more in-house knowledge, understanding, expertise, if you will, on some of the different disorders, conditions, or things that we see more often. So some of the things I think you're focusing on, autism, ADHD, behavior, executive functioning, social emotional, anxiety, things like that. What is it? How does it present with young children up to adolescence? What are some strategies that you can use to help them? So not only will it build empathy, but then the idea is then you share it out after you get some of those strategies and ideas and just key insights that they gather. So the special ed teachers met with Nicole and their principals and kind of went through some of the options there. And that was a big part of yesterday. President's Day next week. We are in school. We are not one of those schools this year. We did not have that as a built-in snow day. Dodgeball tourney happened last week between the Decatur Police Department and our elementary staff and students, and the kids had a great time there. I guess depends on who you talk to as to who won, but we'll say the kids won for sure. This is where I'm getting into, believe it or not, 26, 27 is already coming up the pike. So pre-K and kindergarten roundup are upcoming. Community members who might have pre-K students, that flyer and surveys and posts will be coming out March 7th. And then we'll be reaching out to those folks who express an interest for the actual physical day of pre-K roundup. Kindergarten roundup, the flyer goes out February 25th, and March 17th will be the day of kindergarten roundup. iRead is coming up in less than 3 weeks, our iRead test date for the spring. By parent-teacher conferences, which are going to be March 11th for the elementary and middle school. Teachers will be going over the iRead results with those students that it applies for, so 2nd grade and 3rd grade, and then any retakers in 4th and 5th, 6th and 7th. And so they'll be having those conferences, and then Nicole will be manning a table at parent-teacher conferences that if then parents have any further questions or want someone to sit down and go over some things more with them, she'll be able to explain to them or set up another meeting with whomever they may need to. let's see, high school parent-teacher conferences are March 12th, so we have the 11th for elementary, middle school, high school's March 12th. Summer school is going to go out a little later this month. We were still in planning. Freshman Expo, that's where the current eighth graders, incoming freshmen get to go and kind of see all the different curricular offerings, clubs, and organizations available at the high school. That's going to be February 11th, so tomorrow at 6:30 at the high school. Donuts with Grown-ups has been set for May 1st. Information about that will go out early April to families. Also wanted to give a shout out to our choir. They traveled to Huntington County over the weekend and they had 17 golds, 3 silver, and 1 bronze. So congratulations to them and the group of Ariana Cole-Glazier, Zoe Cornett, Lucy Dyer, Paul Morgan, Riley Teamy, Grace Mallory, and Hannah McCormick are going to go to state. So congratulations to them, that's not easy. And then band went to ISMA on February 2nd, and they had 4 silver, 30 golds, which is 3 times more than last year. So congratulations to Ms. Kesar. She is doing a great job in moving our musicians. Wanted to give a special shout out to Colvin Stetler, who will be going to state ISMA with his alto sax solo, so congratulations to him and good luck. And I did want to reiterate a special thank you to Dr. and Mrs. Ainsworth for donating and thinking ahead to keep that flooring and have it mounted and framed for Dale Manus. We all, I know there's a lot of us that miss him still and think about him often, and I know his family will be very appreciative that there will be something that will be a legacy for him in that gym, because that was where he lived and breathed, for sure. I think that's
You're good? Okay. Any other matters come to the board? Board member public comments?
As shared here, I put out here, some of the bills that's going forward. That first one, the wireless, that is moving forward, but there'll be some amendments yet to it, but most likely it will be passed. The next one, actually, up until a couple of days ago, thought it was dead. Language was removed from the bill. However, parents there in Fishers, whose daughter was tragically killed, has really gotten the attention of legislators in the last 2 days, and so they're reworking it with some amendments and looking like it's going to be parent permission needed if the child is under 16. There's also some other things, safeguards they're putting into that, so that most likely will happen in some form. The display of 10 Commandments, that is dead for this session. Kim mentioned the school board as far as the order in which candidates will be on the ballot. This next one, this 1102, applied analysis therapy, requires licensed certified behavior analysis, and not sure how far that will go. I don't know, Kim, have you heard anything about this one?
yes. While we all are in support of that, many of us have MOUs with ABA therapists and different things. We certainly were concerned at the initial commentary or initial language because it did not provide a protection from liability for schools, and at first it even wanted it written into an IEP, which, if you know what that means, may mean that schools could be on the hook for paying for that service for that student, which is not something we were going to be able to do, because they would not be operating through our special needs co-op or our special needs department. It would be, again, outside vendors. So I know that's been part of the lobbying strategy from ISBA and from the superintendent's organizations is it's fine to have them come in, provide some, just like we have with our MOU you folks have approved, let's provide some protections for liability, privacy, confidentiality. Let's not write it into the IEP. I haven't really heard how much traction amendments are getting. I'll have my next meeting this Friday. There was some concern there still, I know.
Now, the next one, it has to do with teacher's salary in connection with the academic needs factor. The ISBA has opposed that language. There's some looking at, maybe changing that, but not sure how that's going to come out there. And then I also put this last one on access to public records. This is Matt Lehman has authored this. I was able to listen on Saturday. I went to their town meeting asking about it. It basically is preventing AI from making the request, and that's been a lot of what has happened. But, and so it would require that it be from an actual person. I think that was the heart of what he's after here, and trying to save people time from what that could end up being.
Well, it can become a huge time requirement as well as going to be a lot of copying, a lot of.
Said a lot of that AI is just people doing some of their research, but putting it on the backs of public, or not public, but on the backs of organizations.
There's not a lot. There is a lot. There's not huge amounts of big financial changes. They're not doing as much with property taxes and things this time as I thought they would, but we've already been warned that 27 will be a heavy session.
Part of what's is lessened the number is because they're still, their goal is to end February 27th. They really don't have much time left.
Anything else? We can adjourn the meeting. Thank you.